welcome, Janice Muldoon.
Welcome, Brian Muldoon.
Thank you so much.
We're very excited to be here and to be back with our first guest.
Yeah.
After the relaunch of Afternoons with the Muldoons.
Absolutely. Super excited. I guess I want to ask, first of all, before we get into things, how's your week been, everyone? Hope you're having a great week. Those of you that are tuning in, thank you, that are here live. Post live in the comments. If you're watching the replay, put replay in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Hope that you're having an amazing week. What's been exciting for your week so far?
Well, what's been exciting so far? Just been working lots, but we're going to harvest apples tonight. I've just told Brian this, by the way. We've been waiting for somebody to come over and do our hedges, but we've got these two massive apple trees and we keep going, oh, we got to get out there and pick those apples. So now he just texted me to say he's coming tomorrow morning. So that's our, that is our evening sorted.
Yeah. It's just the way it works now these days, right? You don't get to pick and choose. You just get told this is when it's happening, be there, or you miss out.
So we can, so in upcoming episodes of Afternoons with the Muldoons, we can tell you all about our adventures of what we're doing with like 20 tons of apples.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to make an apple crumble.
Yeah, well, good. I'm going to hold you
to
that.
I'm excited about that. All right. So anyway.
Let's have a check in Facebook and just see who's tuned in and if we've got any comments. I just wanted to say quickly, guys, just before we get rolling here. So for any of you that are tuning in today, this whole thing of Afternoons with the Muldoons came about. For those of you that don't know, we were doing this for a bit of fun before lockdown. We would just kind of randomly go on and do a live and just have a chat. And it was a lot of fun. And then during lockdown, we decided to kind of ramp it up. We were doing it actually every day through the week, and we were having special guests on. And then as things got busier, it fell by the wayside. But we've had a lot of people that said, hey, you know what? I really like tuning into that. It was a lot of fun. You had a lot of really great guests, which we do today, sharing, some fantastic inspiration, motivation, great stories. So we decided, let's do it. Let's do it again.
And by the way, in between these episodes, like we're getting a pretty formidable list of people that are going to be coming on the program because, look, we want it to be a lot of fun, engaging, as Janice was saying, and everything from health, relationships, just really about living your best life and to really come to a place where, you can just interact with other people, hang out with us, and hopefully have a good time. And don't forget to tell your friends about it. Like share Afternoons with the Muldoons because we want to grow this community. We want to make it to be a place where people come together to grow together and have fun together. So, like I said, if you got any comments or questions, just post them into the comments there.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we'll definitely.
And I think we should, drum roll, introduce our first guest.
Yes. Why don't you do the honors?
So, as you will have seen posted here, Julie Peyton Monk is here with us today. We met Julie probably 3 or 4 years ago, and she is just such an awesome person. Always has a smile on her face. Is just an absolute pleasure to be around and has a really, really inspiring story, not just about turning her life around, but also her entrepreneurial journey and how she is impacting the lives of other people. So I think we should go ahead and bring Julie on.
All right. Julie, welcome.
Welcome.
It's good to have you here. We got a monitor down here. We're trying not to look at it while we get the studio together here. But anyway, Julie, it's great to see you. Good to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. What an introduction. It's always great to hang out with the Muldoons, right? Get you guys back on it, chatting with us all and helping change lives.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Julie. So if you don't mind, just to give these guys a little bit of a background, I know that you had a really pivotal moment in your life that changed everything for you. So can you just kind of start out about, I think you had said to me it was maybe 7 or 8 years ago that you had this event happen. Can you give us a little background on that?
Yeah, sure. So it was around, I would say 7, 8 years ago when that kind of moment happened. I would say before that period of time, on reflection, I was seeking to improve my life, just be happier in my life. My life very much revolved around work, working in a corporate career, climbing the career ladder, looking for promotions. And with that, everything else went out the window. So it was literally work was my life. And I was kind of seeking things through whether it was like project management courses, learning more things to try and progress more at work. It all became about work, and anything outside of that just went the wayside. And then the wake up call, which I feel like now I feel fortunate to have had it, was I broke my leg and ankle. So I was one night I actually finished work on time, literally 2 minutes from where I live now, my front door. I got my heels stuck in the cobbles and I ended up spinning around and breaking my leg and ankle. And for me, that was the start of the kind of wake up call because it meant I was basically in the hospital, obviously waiting on operation. But once they got out the hospital, being on crutches, being a size 18, had never been to gym before. I was 35 at the time. So my health and my fitness was not in a good place. And I live top floor. So it means I've got 60 stairs. I know now because I had to count them several times. I've got 60 stairs to kind of hop up to get here. So non-weight bearing. And that was back in time when we didn't have all this technology, right? We didn't have Zoom, we didn't have Skype, we had none of that. So I was basically stuck at home for 6 weeks again before working from home. So my husband would leave in the morning to go to work and I was on my own all day. And I couldn't get from room to room without having to sit on a chair using crutches. And it was kind of that point that I swore to myself that I would never let myself get in that state before, like ever again. Like it kind of creeps up on you, right? Nobody ever plans to be in that place where we become so unhealthy that we're not able to do these things. And I think it's just creeps up on us. And I feel fortunate that I have that moment where actually through a serious life-changing injury, and it truly was life-changing, it gave me that kind of wake-up call to say, you need to address your health, you need to address your lifestyle and do something about this.
That's powerful. It was interesting, just with what you said, like the wake up call.
Yeah.
And I know for myself, and I think I speak for a lot of people, for so many times in my own life, it seems like, we don't take action until we get to that point where, we're really faced with something where we've got to make a key decision. Isn't that true? That was true for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I was thinking about that earlier, Brian, because I was thinking, what was it? Because some people get those wake up calls, right, but they don't listen to them. They kind of ignore them. And we all know lots of cases, right, where we think, oh my God, why aren't people doing something to improve their health? Whether it be, you're on the verge of diabetes, whether it be around blood pressure, all the little warning signs our body gives us. And it might also be around mental health too. But for some people, they don't ever step out of that and look to improve their health, their happiness. They stay where they are. And I was reflecting on what was the difference for me. And I think what it was, having a broken leg and ankle, right, it gives you permission to look after yourself. And people initially will be supportive around you because obviously something's happened that, you've not kind of imposed that on yourself. It's one of those things. And so people will be kind of supportive in terms of what do you need, how can I help you? And that initial change, they expect it to be for a short time. So again, they're quite happy to support you. You can give yourself permission to be selfish, look after yourself. You need to go to the physio, you need to learn to walk, you need to fuel your body for recovery. But what people don't expect is for that change to continue, as I'm now, as Janice said, 7.5, 8 years into that journey. And people don't expect that, but also to give yourself that permission to keep focusing on yourself. So I certainly felt some challenges, shall we say, after the initial 3 months of trying to continue to look after myself, the pressures of the corporate role, wanting me to go back to work 72 hours, the pressure of me wanting to go to the gym and look after myself, the pressures of wanting to eat healthier food, not take part in the nights out, the binge drinking and all those things that come with the corporate life. And it's being stubborn and setting your boundaries around that for me, I would say is the difference.
Yeah, I remember us having this conversation before, and it's funny when you think about making positive change in your life. A lot of times it makes other people uncomfortable. So, you're going into work and people are like, oh, I see you're losing weight and you're this and that. But then it's like you start getting, you start really improving and you start really showing up because I remember you saying to me, it really made you realize how unhappy and how miserable you had been on that corporate treadmill. So it's like, um, you know, uh, making those changes and letting those other people be uncomfortable and just to keep moving forward and not to let them pull you back into where they kind of see you inside that little box, right?
Yeah, you certainly have to be determined. So I know we use the word motivation, but we know that's not really a thing, right? But it's literally being determined and also that kind of self respect and self care. So it's that whole thing of going, I matter, and believing that you're worth the time and the effort. Because when you come up against those challenges, you need to be steadfast in your approach. Because it's things like even when I was about, I think, a year and a half into my journey, a senior manager pulled me into the office and was like, oh, Julie, I just want to have a discussion with you. Are you okay? It's just that you've lost quite a lot of weight. I just want to make sure you're okay. You've lost a lot of weight. Bear in mind, this was like over a year and a half at that point. And I had to, sit across the desk and go, do you know, I'm the happiest and healthiest I've been in a long time. I've lost weight gradually through healthy ways and through moving my body, through eating quality food. But here was this person pulling me up to have this conversation as if it was an issue. But yet, when I was overweight, like a size 18, working 72 hours, working all hours under the sun, not eating properly, did anyone have the conversation with me? No, not one person. Everyone was
Wow.
quite comfortable that I was in that place.
That's so interesting that you say that, because I heard so many things out of that. One of them was, you talked about determination, and I we can all relate to someone who made the decision. For example, in the context of today's conversation, that they wanted to improve their overall health, wanted to look and feel better, and they got determined. They committed to it. You see them a few months later, you're like, wow, like you look amazing. And you really can see not only the physical transformation, but you can just pick it up on their energy. You can really see that they have actually made that leap. They've closed that gap, or bridged that gap rather, to a place now where they do feel inspired. They feel good about who they are. They have greater confidence and certainty about who they are. um, and I just share that because I find like it's such a big challenge for so many people to get going, to get to that place where they find that determination. I mean, back to what we were talking about earlier. I mean, who wants to, twist an ankle on the cobbles and break your leg, or, fall down steps, or whatever, have a physical thing where, suddenly your health is at risk. Yet it seems like it takes us so long to do very little. And so my question to you is what would you say to anyone who's listening in who knows that they want to make some improvements? They know I'm snacking too much, I need to lay off the wine and the gummy bears and all that stuff, but yet it's such an easy thing to go to. What could you share? What advice could you share with anyone about how you can get past that, when deep down what you want most is to actually have that transformation and get your life into a better place than where it might be right now?
Yeah, so what I probably underestimated, Brian, was 7 years ago. You can talk about movement, you can talk about calories, you can talk about the easy things like just don't buy the crisps, just don't buy the gummy bears. You can do those easy steps and it's not around you, there's not temptation. However, what no one talks about is that deeper level underneath. So that level of self-worth. And that is a massive unpacking. And that comes in different chapters and different levels. But there's a massive reason underneath those things. It's not just habits. It's not just, oh, I can't do it, it's too hard, or I can do it for a period of time. It's actually around that self-worth piece. So believing that you're worth taking the time to do the movement, whether that's running the gym, taking the time to make yourself a high quality meal, whether that's something fresh opposed to the ready meals. So for me, it's about the self-worth, that you're worth investing in yourself to make the changes. So if you find yourself cooking the meals you don't enjoy because someone else in the household wants that, but it's not necessarily a healthy thing that fuels your body and makes you feel good. It's actually having the self-worth to go, well, this is what I'm having. You can have that if you want, but sticking to this is what I'm having because this is what serves me. And I'm worth the time, the energy to fuel my body well. I'm worth taking the time out to do movement, what's good for my mental and physical health. I'm worth spending that time on me because we're so busy looking after everyone else, especially if you're a people pleaser, especially if you're like deemed a high performer, right? You're all about making other people happy, hitting the tick boxes, making sure people think highly of you. But while in the inside, that self-worth is, am I good enough? That whole imposter syndrome that's often thrown about nowadays. And it's giving yourself permission to believe in yourself and have the self-worth to know that you matter as an individual. Your health matters. And the truth is, nobody else is going to care about your health, physical or mental. It's only you who's responsible for that. And actually, the only person who really cares about it is you. Yes, other people around you might feel the side effects of that, but the truth is, it's your responsibility. So you need to take that deeper level underneath, the treats, the sweets, and go, what is it that I'm not happy with? Why is it that I'm going for these things? And keep almost punishing myself, punishing your body, punishing yourself mentally for wanting these things and having them and feeling bad afterwards. What is the layer under that? What is the reasons that you're reaching for those things deeper than, oh, they were just there? There's something else driving you. And more often than not, that I found with my own experience and with that of my clients, it's around the self-worth piece and knowing that you are worthy of that investment.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
interesting.
Absolutely.
So like, that's like, how do you get to that place? I mean, look, we coach but I want to hear from you, because like I said, so many people, they want to be in a better place. Yet, you think about it, they're like, oh, I'll start tomorrow. I'll start next week. You know what? As soon as summer's over, as soon as the kids are back to school, there always seems to be this convenient sort of alternative, instead of, making our health and our nutrition and our self-care the priority. Um, and as you say, there's a lot to unpack there, but is there a simple, maybe first step that maybe you could share for someone who is finding it challenging to just start?
Yeah, and it's probably a bit that people don't want to hear, right? It's a bit they don't want to hear about being honest with yourself. Stop making excuses. Like, actually be honest with yourself. Why is it you're waiting? Is it because it's easier to wait another week, and before you know it, right, we're nearly in September. The whole year will be over soon. All right, we'll start in the new year. We'll start then. But actually, get honest with yourself. Why are you making those excuses? What is it you're avoiding? The hardest work you can do is the self work. It's easier to spend and invest time on other people than it is to do yourself. And that's why you're struggling. So it's about you having that real honest conversation with you. Go, what are my excuses? And if some of them you think are valid, people are like, oh, I'm juggling kids, it's busy life. Okay, that's valid, but there's things you can do to work around it. And it's also that thing about repeating behavior. So what have you tried in the past? Anyone that works with me knows we don't do diets, right? All these kind of fad diets that are out there, the diets have been around a long time, but people kind of yo-yo the diets. It's about a sustainable lifestyle, and it's about you getting honest with yourself, saying, what are my blockers? What are the things that are stopping me? Which ones are just pure excuses? And if they're coming up as excuses, what is it? What's the emotion behind that? What's the feeling behind it? What is it that's actually stopping you? And if it is that deeper level and you're maybe struggling to unwrap that and what that is, then, I've done it myself. Reach out, get a coach, dig into that deeper level to find out if you can't get past what those blockers are yourself and you're not in that place of being able to have that honest conversation. And I'm not saying go to a diet club where they're going to beast you for you put on X pounds of what you've been eating this week and stuff. I'm saying actually reach out to a coach who's going to help you with the mindset piece, because that in turn is going to help you get to where you want on the physical elements.
Well, that's a good segue into what I was going to ask you next, Julie, because going from a highly stressful corporate job, being overweight, being unhealthy, you had this big shift in your life.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, you are coaching women all over the world, you're running fitness classes, you're teaching nutrition, you're an all-around wellness coach, I would say, in every aspect. What was the turning point that brought that about?
It was that understanding that those behaviors, that unraveling is always there, right? The temptation for the biscuits, to go, oh, I'll just go out the weekend, I'll go for a couple of drinks, and then you end up being there till 2 a.m, whatever that looks like. Those behaviors are always going to be there, that temptation, if you like. And it's not to say that you need to have an alcohol or a drug problem or addiction around that, but it's the temptation that's always around us to take us from where we want to be. And I would say it's that whole piece around, what is it you want to do? What are the goals you want to reach for? And I just started working with people on movement, and the movement goals would be, getting fitter, getting healthier, feeling you can run if you want to run. And then we segue into nutrition, and then that's where the struggles would be around nutrition. I had some clients who to be completely honest, are on it. They don't need anything other than the meal plans. They can follow them. They then learn how to eat healthier. They learn what portion size looks like. They tune into their body, what foods make them feel good, what foods make them not feel so great. And that's how they base their choices on, actually, how do I want to feel tomorrow? How do I want to feel the next day, the day after? And that helps them inform what choices they want to make. And for some people, they get stuck at the nutrition and what we just spoke about in terms of those temptations, but also in terms of the excuses and not being honest with yourself. And then that's where I got into the kind of the life coaching element of it, in terms of like, what is it that's stopping you from achieving the goals you wanted? And sometimes that can be taking it back to patterns they've seen as a child. If they've seen their parents overeating, if they've seen their parents in bouts of depression, and starting to mirror the pictures that they've grown up with and recreate that in their own adult life. And it's how we can unravel that and go, what's happened in your life? What's the trauma? What's the behaviors you've seen? And that's where it's kind of me, as I've mentioned previously, whole of life, because it's about the individual approach. Like I say, some people just need the movement side. Some people just need the nutrition. Some people need all three elements. And it really is about you as an individual rather than one size fits all. Because we're all told, here's one thing, this is the solution, this is how to do it, drop the calories, this is how to do it. But if it was that easy and straightforward, nobody would be overweight and we'd all be healthy and happy, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's, you know what, I appreciate you saying that, Julie, because I mean, we come from the same sort of ethos with coaching, as far as there is no cookie cutter approach. Everybody is different. Everybody has different needs. And it's about, like, exactly what you're saying. You are customizing, what each client needs, because that's what it takes to be successful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and I think
think
a lot of people can feel like there's something wrong with them when they try to buy
Mm.
the off the shelf meal plan or the off the shelf diet, and they think, what is it that's wrong with me that this is not working? Or if they're going to the gym and they're like, oh, why is it not working for me? And then they can fall off because it's that kind of fear of failure, or feeling like you are a failure because you've tried this and that, you've given up hope, it's not working, they've maybe thrown money at this and that and it's not working. But it's just to say, actually, just because that way didn't work for you doesn't mean there isn't a way that would work for you. It's just finding that individual approach that's tailored for you.
it's so important. And like when I was listening to what you were saying, and I recently did a post, and it was really about everything that we're talking about. How do you get from where you are to where you really want to be? And if you think about it, anyone who's listening, anything that any of us have accomplished in our life came with challenges. There was resistance. There were things that we had to work through so that we could end up where we wanted to be. I mean, that could be something from, your driving test, when you had to pass that and you were stressed out and the instructor came in, or the examiner. Things to like something as simple as going over and asking someone to dance or to go on a date, or to commit to the mortgage for your first house or whatever it is. Anything that we've had to do, that career, that promotion that you applied for, and the uncertainty of knowing, am I good enough? Did I get it? We've all had to face enormous challenges in our lives, but it's the challenges that we show up for that define us, isn't it? Because that's really where the rubber meets the road. Yet when we think about committing to wanting to, get into better shape, or, whatever else it is in our lives that we want to improve upon, we often think about the challenges in advance and talk ourselves out of it. So like, what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, and I think, Brian, what we also do is we've got to do it for someone else, right? You'll hear people wanting to get in shape or lose weight for a holiday. You'll hear them wanting to do it for a wedding or some family event coming up, and they manage to do it for whatever that event is. And that is about being beautiful, looking the best you can be in whatever those pictures are. But then after that, they then segue and fall off. And it's like literally like that thing of doing it for other people. And you're only going to get the long term results if you're doing it for you. And it's what I said about like your body, you're borrowing this, right? And you're borrowing this body right now, is you borrowing it from 10 years from now. So where's your body going to be in 10 years? Where's that mental health going to be in 10 years? And that's going to be a reflection of all the actions you take between now and that period of time. So it is really about thinking about, where do I want to be? What is it I need to stop doing? What are the things that I need to start doing? And what's not working for me? Like, if this is not working for me and I've tried doing this thing and I've said I'll start again, how are you going to feel if you're in the same place now opposed to this time next year? Like, how is that going to
Right.
make you feel?
And I think that that's what happens for a lot of people, a lot of us, and I know in my own personal life where I tried things and, take, for example, New Year's resolutions. I mean, we don't have to look any further than that. Most of them don't work because, for a number of reasons, maybe we're going after the wrong things or, we're not ready or whatever the case may be. But, that really brings me to this coaching piece, which is a big part of what you do. I think that for a lot of people, especially people who are maybe adverse to the idea of coaching, or it has sort of some strange association to it where it doesn't feel right, feels out of alignment for them, you know, someone who might be thinking, well, I don't need someone to take my watch to tell me what time it is, and I think that for anyone who has maybe been considering coaching or looking at coaching, I want to hear from you, Julie, but it's really what a coach worth their weight can do is bring perspective, because you're asking all the right questions, yet you're not following through on your promises and your agreements. And a coach brings that perspective to be able to help you see what is already true for you and the things that are you want and the things that are getting in the way. And they're able to provide that support and accountability in a way that works for you. And that is something that takes a special skill, something that you have to work at for years, as Julie was saying earlier, to really understand where is that person at, what motivates them, what doesn't, and so tell us a little bit more about, with your coaching and how you help your clients.
Yeah, so I think just touch on what you spoke about there, Brian. It's about the beliefs you hold about yourself as well. Like I've got some clients who work with nutrition and they don't truly believe that they'll ever lose weight. Within society, we kind of build who we are. We've got all these labels, whether it be, like mom, sister, daughter, girlfriend, whatever the labels are we put on. But within that, there's different social standings around even food. So it might be you're the person who everyone leaves the leftovers for. Brian will have another plate, or Janice likes chocolate. And before you know it, those associations around food becomes your place in your social grouping. So therefore, you don't necessarily want to be comfortable in changing that. So Janice isn't well, so I'm going to buy her a big bar of chocolate to cheer her up. Oh, the loads of food. It's all right. Brian's coming around. He'll finish that off. We'll give it to Brian, right? So
I'll take it.
Right? And then you build up that kind of unknown reputation to a certain extent, and that's part of your identity. And then so when people try to lose weight, they could be changing that social grouping, right? They don't like to be seen a bit different or might be uncomfortable. The comments might come. But there's also that self-belief that, oh, this is the weight I'm always going to be. I'm always going to be overweight. I'm always going to be fat. So what's the point? So though they're reaching out for help, they've still got those beliefs underneath, and it is raveling that. And again, it comes back to the self-worth. But it's also that piece around what's your environment, who's around you. So if you're the person that's known for being the 2 a.m., get the shots in, whatever that is, you've got that reputation and people expect that from you. So you need to be really strong in terms of going, that's not the lifestyle that's for me. And if you've got friends and families and colleagues who support you in that decision and don't put the pressure on, then that's good. If Janice is like, please don't buy me chocolate, but what I really appreciate the thought, but if you do want to get me something when I'm not well, flowers would be great, a book. And if Brian, you're like, really, I love your cooking, I love your food, but I'm really trying to look after my health right now. So I appreciate it if with the leftovers, if you donate it, give it to someone else, because I'm trying to, cut back a little and things like that. And setting those boundaries and explaining to people where you are. And if you find they're not respecting those boundaries, that's where you need to either cut down on the amount of time you're spending around those people to gradually maybe that relationship is no longer part of your life. And it really is about setting those boundaries with the people around you, about not just the expectations of where you used to be, but also where you're going and what that means on a day-to-day practical basis. And it's not about you being boring. It's not about you being not having any fun or not chilling out or enjoying life and enjoying going out for meals. It's just saying, actually, this is not working for me, so I'm not going to keep doing this thing.
I love it. I have one thing where I wanted to really touch on with you, Julie, because it's something that has been coming up a lot since COVID. None of us expected to, go through what we went through during that period of time. And what I'm hearing more and more and what I'm seeing more and more is people not wanting to go back to the lives that they had beforehand. So obviously there were people that were working probably similar to what you used to do in a corporate environment. They got to work from home. Now these companies are like, come back. We want you back in work. And there's so many more people now realizing I don't want the rest of my life to be like that. So, what I would love to hear from you is because I mean, obviously, you were in. I'm going to say a great corporate job. I know you weren't happy, but you were in a corporate job where you were working your way up the ladder. I'm sure you were making really good money. All of those things that come with that environment. Um, but now you are living the life of an entrepreneur and you are creating a life out of something that you're so passionate about. So what would you say to somebody that's kind of in the same boat as you were in going, I don't want to go into that office every day. I need to make a change.
Yeah, think about quality of life. So this is something I discuss with so many people, especially because I do a lot of cancer rehab work as well. And it's all about quality of life. What we find is we're living longer. People are living with and beyond cancer. So, or you might not have cancer, or you might just be thinking, actually, I want to live to 80, or some people might think I want to live to 110. Regardless, we don't know how much time we have left. And it's about the quality of life that you have. So think about if you've not got your mobility, if you're not be able to walk unassisted, if you're not able to get from A to B the way you want to be, you're dependent on medication, whatever that is. It's thinking about actually what's the quality of life I want to live for me. What are the minimal standards that I say is quality? So that might be being able to travel twice a year. That might be able to go out for meals. So it can be the whole of life again, right? So it's everything financial, lifestyle, that health piece. And it's thinking about what is it you want from that quality of life. And if you're at where I was, working 72 hours, work, I can guarantee work is your life. If you're chasing that and you've not set the boundaries, or you've maybe not set the boundaries because you've got yourself in such a place at work where more and more work keeps getting piled onto you. That happened to me. You're a high achiever, right? More and more work gets piled onto you. And you're always delivering to that high standard because you're only as good as your last project. So you're always striving to maintain that level. And the balance is out or killer. It becomes everything. And you'll know that yourself if you feel like you're so stressed and there's nothing else happening in life. It is about getting through the week to get to the weekend. Then you end up working at the weekends, right? And then you end up going for the holiday. And in the first couple of days of your holiday, you end up working. And then for a couple of days towards the end of the holiday, you start signing on working again. So you'll know if you're in that cycle of trying to work more to make your life easier, and it doesn't happen. You just get more and more work piled on top of you. So if you're in that place, it's thinking about, right, how do I reset? I've mentioned this word a few times, the boundaries. How do I reset the boundaries so I work the hours that I'm actually paid to work, whether that's 9 to 5. Now, if you're going into the office, because I've seen this happen with clients, so if you're getting that push to go back into the office, you don't go into the office, have loads of face-to-face meetings, then come home to catch up on the work you did. If your place of employment is expecting you to be in the office, that is where you work. You don't then work and then go home to catch up, because it's all seen about being face-to-face and reconnecting, and you've got nothing done that day. You need to set that precedent. And if someone's like, when's this going to be done? When's that not going to be done? Add time in. If you're going to lose a day a week because you're doing face-to-face meetings in the office, then add that time to the deadlines. And if anyone questions that, say, well, by coming into the office, I'm losing time X, Y, and Z doing it face-to-face. So it is that thing about really setting the boundaries and take the pressure off you, because you're one person. What is it you want to achieve in terms of quality of life? Where is it balanced out? How can you set the boundaries at work and also at home too? Because we know at home people are still signing on till 7, 8, or signing on late at night. So it's that whole thing of going, no, this is my timeline. I'm stopping here. Because believe me, the more you do, the more will get added.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Julie, because I was just thinking when you were saying that, I know probably we've all been in a situation where you are in a work environment and you're going above and beyond. You're being a people pleaser. You're taking on more than you should. And you're thinking, oh, but the whole world will fall apart if I don't do this. And then you leave that job and everybody's like, bye, good luck, see you later. And you think, oh my God, I killed myself all of that time. And it was
Oh,
really just
100%.
me
Yeah.
looking
I
for
was gonna say,
validation.
yeah, 100%, because I learned that. So that time I was off with my broken leg was about 3 months off, because I physically, believe me, I tried, right? I was on the hospital bed on my BlackBerry, as long ago it was, and I absolutely tried to sit at a computer, and I just physically, my body couldn't with the broken leg, right? So I did try. It didn't happen though. So that 3 month period, I then went back to the office and was getting back into it. And I realized all the stuff that I had been working on, nobody had touched for 3 months. I'm like, what? And suddenly this stuff was all urgent again and all needed to be done yesterday. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm learning to walk here. And the pressure that actually got put on me to get back to full time super quick. And I sat there one day and I just knew, right? I just had this feeling that if I don't focus on my physio, I'm going to be the one that is left with this disability ultimately. If I don't learn to walk and invest the time in learning to walk again, I'm going to be left with that for the rest of my life, not the people I'm working with. And I actually sat there one day when I was getting challenged about the amount of time I spend doing physio and things like that. And I said to my manager, "You're like, I can either be here or not be here. You choose." At which point, I think they panicked a little. I'm not going to lie. I think they panicked a little. And then they came back saying, "Julie, it's all right. Don't worry about it. Do what you need to do with your physio." So it is actually having those conversations and getting really stubborn about putting yourself first, because no one else is going to do that. So it is really about setting those boundaries and saying, I'm not taking this anymore. I'm going to do what's right for me, focus on me. I'm working my hours. I'm still hitting high quality. It's just I'm not taking on more and more, because the more you do, as I said, the more will be expected. And the only thing that's going to happen is that you're going to reach burnout. That's ultimately it. If you think my leg break was ultimately a bit of burnout, right? That happened for a reason. And I still tried to push through that.
And Julie, as far as you, sorry, Brian, I'm going to turn over to you. I just have one last question for you. Whenever, because I'm thinking about people that are like, okay, I've gone back to my work. I'm trying to set boundaries. I'm still not happy there. I want to leave. Whenever you did that, did you sort of transition out of your work where you were maybe doing like fitness classes or something, like side hustle for a while?
Yeah, so I totally transitioned. If you knew me some years ago, you would think no danger with this woman going to fitness classes, never mind being an instructor, right? So it's been quite a radical journey in that respect. But yeah, I started investigating, like I was doing the gym stuff, and in one of the classes I loved, the gym stopped doing it. And I was complaining to the manager. Bear in mind, this is a woman who didn't enter a gym until she was 35. Me sitting in the manager's office complaining about him stopping this class. And he was like, "Julie, you've got the moves, you can become an instructor." And I was like, what? No chance. Anyway, I looked into it, and the short story is, I then done my level 2, my free. I'd done that on the side, so I'd work in the corporate role, and it was an intense 6-week period of working full-time corporate, and then at the weekends doing this personal training course. So it was literally like, I think I had about a 6-week period where I literally didn't have a day off. I was doing the corporate job during the week, and then the weekend training full-time face-to-face for the PT stuff, and then studying at night. So it can be done. So if you are a high achiever, it can be done. And once I qualified, I then got a gig at the corporate gym. So I was doing classes in the morning at 7 a.m. I'd then go to the office for 9, and then I'd work till lunchtime. At lunchtime, I would power walk across to the gym. It was an 8-minute power walk from the office to the gym. I could tell you it was 8 minutes. And then I'd do a fitness class, get showered, come back to the office, do the afternoon job, and in the evenings I would go and PT people or do fitness classes in the evenings as well. So yeah, I definitely done both, which allowed me to build up confidence in what I was doing. And it got to that point for me where the corporate world was stopping me progress to the things I wanted to do in the fitness world. So when it came around to that redundancy, for me, it wasn't easy because I had my plan B in place. And I think that's really important, because I know a lot of people have scarcity mindset around money, and there's quite a lot of pressure around money. And it's that thing about, I always say, work out what your plan B is. What is it you'd want to do if you're not doing the role now? And that's not an easy question, but really sit with it. What is the things that you'd rather be doing than the role you're in now? And just start to work on what that thing is. You're not tied to it. Investigate, what does that look like? Is it doing something you need to do a course for? Is it something someone else is doing? Then go and try that thing. Maybe like dog walking. Go and spend a day with the dog walker, see what that feels like, find out about the business behind it. What does that look like? What's the setup? And investigate the possibilities. Because I think the thing that we fall into a trap of is that we don't have choices, especially if we're stuck in a role we're not happy. But the truth is, we've always got choices. It's just taking action to find out what those are and making them happen.
Great advice.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think what you were saying there was so important, because I think that, people have limiting beliefs. We all do, about what's possible for us, what we're capable of, when's the right time, what if it doesn't work out? And there's all these things that come into play. But, I think that, everything that you just shared there is so important. It's just about taking the action to just even investigate, to just even try, because to do nothing, it's really a waste of time. And the thing is, as we know, we can't get more time, but we can control how we spend our time. And, just to kind of digress back to what you were saying earlier, I fell victim to that as well. I think we all have is, today's accomplishments will become tomorrow's regular activities. And, we can fall into that trap because so many of us, our basic human needs are linked to the certainty that, I'm good enough. I do a great job. I'm appreciated, which is tied to significance, that we feel like we're enough, that we're more than enough. And often we find that in our work, but, we'll even do that at sacrificing our health because we don't want to feel like we're letting something else or someone else down, because then we don't feel like we're enough. When, as you said, it's about shifting that perspective and starting to put significance and certainty into who you are and who you can become, and just taking those first few steps. So I really appreciate what you shared there.
Yeah, and I think,
Absolutely.
Brian, it's that thing as well about if you're really, because we get to that place where we're really unhappy in a role and we get stuck there because we think we're not good at what we do. If we went for another interview, we'd be rubbish at it. We've got nothing to share. We haven't done anything this year. And I see that a lot with clients too. And if you're in such a negative workspace, then you need to pull yourself out of that sooner rather than later. Because when I talked about plan B, that's not going to happen when you're in such a negative space. So it's looking immediately, right, what are the other roles within the company I'm working with? What are the other roles outside? And again, still believing you have options because you're much better at the role than you think you are. It's just you've been kind of ground down in it. But you need to lift
Mm,
your head because you're worth being happy in your role. And much as you can have a plan B, you still deserve to be happy whilst you're in that plan A. So if you're in that space of real negativity in the team, your job you're doing, then please lift yourself out of that position and look for another role that will enable you the freedom, the space, the mental capability of being then able to lift your head and look at, right, what's the plan B? What's the future for me?
yeah. It's
Absolutely.
all about happiness. Life's too short
Absolutely.
to be unhappy. So, Julie, tell us, how can people find you if they want to check out what you have going on? I know you've got all sorts of things going on. Where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Julie Payton Monk and also the Revive Women Academy. You can also get me on Instagram at Revive Fitness One. And you can check out my podcast too, which is the Change Lives podcast. So there's lots of different ways. So pop me a note on Facebook, Instagram, check out the podcast, whatever's good for you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We really, really appreciate it. We always love chatting with you, and you always have so much value to bring. And I can honestly say I have never ever spoken to Julie and she hasn't been in a good mood and had a smile on her face. That is the
Always.
absolute
Well,
truth.
like, why? She's being the product of the product.
That's right.
I mean, we see, this is so important. Based on that, be the product of the product. We'll, go out and spend a few $100 or a few $100, whatever it is, to get a nice watch or a nice pair of trousers, or spend a few thousand, to get a nice, even a nicer watch, or, several hundred to get that new phone because of the way that it makes us feel. But yet we're often apprehensive to invest a couple of £100, a few £100 a month into doing something that's really good for us, that's lasting, because the phone, the gadget, the night out doesn't last. Yes, it gives us an immediate quick fix. It gives us a quick connection to feeling like, hey, everything's all right, everything's good. But the truth is, well, in ourselves over the long term, as you talked about earlier, Julie, it's over the long term. We just make that investment into ourselves. I mean, we can literally transform our lives to a point in which you have, where today you can say, I am the product of the product, and I have the tools and the skills to really help people close that gap from where they want to be in their lives, in their health, and in their psychology from where they are now. So I think it's great.
Yeah,
Any
and I think,
closing
right,
words from you, Julie? Any thoughts before we wrap it up?
you just read my mind, Janice. Yeah, I was just going to say, even if you feel like you're not ready for change, one thing to start doing is just tune into how the food you're eating makes you feel. So once you have that meal or that snack or whatever it is, tune in how do you feel? How do you feel when you're eating that? How do you feel half an hour later? How do you feel an hour later, 2 hours later? Because what we're eating impacts our physical, but also our mental. We're feeding our brain too, right? So if you're not wanting to do anything change-wise, one thing to do is just tune into the food you're eating, how it's making you feel immediately, half an hour after, 2 hours after. Where's your energy at? Just Brian touched on there. Where's your energy at after the food you're eating? Really tune into how it's making you feel mentally and physically. And if you can start tuning into that, that'll help you with your choices.
Great advice.
Fantastic advice.
So,
All right.
Thank you so much for being here. I just want to let everyone know that next week's guest is Bernardo Moya. We're going to be discussing his new book, A Man Evolving. Really excited to have him on next week. But thank you so much again, Julie, for being here and sharing, just those insights from, your own personal experience, your own journey to where, you're making such a difference now. I mean, for anyone, like I got the Les Mills app, and I found out like you're one of the instructors with them, which is just amazing. Like this journey that you've been on, and to just watch it evolve has been incredible.
Yeah, my Les Mills grit instructor, Brian. So you need to check those ones out.
Now you've put yourself out there.
Oh.
Now, Brian, you're going to have to get on one of the classes. Now it's out.
I have been on them. How
You
do
got to
you think
get
I
on.
know about
You
it?
got to get on Julie's now, though. She'll put you through the paces.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well,
All right,
listen,
everyone. Yes.
everyone, thanks for being here. Make sure that you chat in or type in the comments, please, live if you're here now. Replay if you're watching it later. Be sure to share this with your friends, your colleagues, your family. We want to grow this community. We've got a lot of awesome guests like Julie that are going to be coming on the program and sharing some great insights and helpful strategies to just live your best life. So with that said, is there anything from the fabulous Janice Muldoon?
Thank you so much. But
All
no,
right.
we'll see you all next
Thanks,
week.
Julie.
Thanks for
Take
tuning
care.
in. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Julie.